Pressing record. Okay, so I just want to start by saying thank you for taking the time out to chat with me. I just want to start by saying, how did your journey in musical theatre begin?
My journey from musical to
Yes.
this particular
Oh, no,
musical.
general, in musical theatre in general.
Oh, interesting. So it really, I mean, I guess you trace it back to high school, and sort of walked in on a show that somebody urged me to just come in and be part of the team, and then I was hooked. And then in college, I shifted to musical direction, and really directing, I guess, more generally,
Hmm.
and really came to enjoy that. And then, I guess in a way, it sort of kept moving to the next place. So this whole writing part is a very different chapter and
How did
interesting.
you get started in writing, and how did that come about?
Yeah, so I've had a rather strange journey. There's no question it doesn't fit neatly in a box.
Hmm.
I guess that's probably true for everyone. But I've been writing music forever, and always as a lyricist, very
Hmm.
focused on the words. And my thing, I was also actually an academic at the time. And so my thing was always these sort of puzzles, these songs that have these interesting
Hmm.
hidden messages inside. And to fast forward a little bit to Trompe l'oeil, I had a friend who said, Trump is a circus. We got to do a musical about him. And this guy was musically a mastermind. He was
Hmm.
amazing. And so, of all things, it felt very serendipitous. But it's like Trompe l'oeil, sort of that title begs to happen, right?
Yeah.
And so all of the hidden messages, songs that I've been writing for the last 30 years, that style of writing had a purpose. And so that was very exciting.
Hmm. So as we've moved on to this show, Trump Loy, what does Loy mean?
Well, so it's a super fair question. So it's the actual phrase is trompe l'oeil, and that trompe means to deceive, right?
Okay.
And l'oeil means eye, right? So it's an art form that is about. So, for example, if you've ever, somebody painted a set of keys onto the table and you reached for them thinking that they were,
Hmm.
actual keys, that is quintessential trompe l'oeil, right?
Hmm.
So the connection, the beautiful connection is that Trump's big thing was about saying things that were not true,
Hmm.
right? About deceiving, and so no, it's not what you see, it's this other thing. And so they kind of beg to be
Hmm.
together in a way. I think
Yeah.
inevitable.
So from sort of just sort of observation of the story and someone suggested it to you, how did it go from those initial ideas to a complete production? How did that journey pan out?
Oh my goodness. I think what you also have to keep in mind is it was a journey through COVID.
Hmm.
So it was a very, very odd sort of journey. Our first production was in St. Louis, and it was essentially more like a video, right? Because no one was allowed to come. So we were in the Grandel Theater, and and we learned a lot. And some people saw it, and it was good. We went on to off Broadway, and COVID was still happening. Now it's people every third seat, right?
Hmm.
And we only were able to do a couple of shows. Learned a lot, but then just the London show and the London cast and the London creatives were
Hmm.
just amazing. And it just, supersonic speed into something
Hmm.
even more awesome. And I'm excited. We're hopeful, very hopeful for a next chapter. And I think it's really going to be a rocket,
Hmm.
in the next version.
Oh, amazing. So what is the show about? What is the show in its entirety?
So if you had a chance to see it by any chance.
I have not, no, unfortunately.
Oh, oh, oh. So it's about, I don't want to ruin it for you. No, it's all good. So it's it's marching, essentially the goal is to march Trump through sort of through trompe l'oeil artists and surrealist artists, right? Without you
Hmm.
really being aware of it. So there's sort of these very odd things that he's going through because things just don't make sense, right?
Hmm.
There are a lot of people who, in America in particular, I'm sure in England you guys felt the same way. How is this possible? How is this happening? Right?
Mhm.
And so it's sort of taking that vibe, right? And at the same time, there's a love story that is trompe l'oeil, in effect, where there's a Republican who falls for Demi, the Democrat, and but Demi is a drag queen, right?
Okay.
But Rip is a little thick and unobservant and doesn't quite pick up that Demi is a drag queen. Like,
Mhm.
Demi does not hide that she's a drag queen, right? But Rip, is too dense to quite figure it out. And when he
Mm.
does figure it out, he has his own sort of existential crisis. And again, I fear I may have given too much of the show away here, but I think in a nutshell, that's what it is.
Mm. So it's not kind of that sort of storyline isn't something you'd expect based on the sort of Trump administration. So where did the sort of the queer theatre and cabaret elements, how did they arrive into the story?
Risk that is yeah, it's a very I think in a way Trump is like our biggest liability because
Hmm.
the show in a way is not in a way it's really not about Trump, you
Hmm.
know? And so people are like, oh God, I don't want to see something about Trump. And it's like there's a whole lot of other things, he's in the space.
Mm.
Did you ever see Cabaret?
Yes. Hmm.
So, in that same way where you have World War II sort of in the backdrop,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think when we really get it fully right, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be this sort of Trump craziness all rolling around in the backdrop, and these two people who are trying to figure out the world in the
Mm.
front. And I don't know if I've answered your question, if I'm honest.
No, it's just like obviously it's quite a unique sort of story to go alongside Trump. So
Right.
you did mention that it's not specifically a story of Trump. So if people are sat there going, we disliked the him, or whatever, it's not a story praising or celebrating him in particularly.
Oh, not in any way. No, actually, I mean, I think what a lot of people have said leaving is that they love because, it's sort of everything. Trump is a caricature.
Mm.
He's played just unbelievably by Vivek Sharma, who's Indian. And so the whole thing is taking this sort of version of Trump and all of the craziness that he's about and not really, you know, it's a really good question, Rhys, because if I'm honest, in New York, it was a much more political show.
Mm.
And I think that was a lesson learned, and we could learn it even more. That, just all of Trump's silly things. For example, he loved to fire people.
Hmm.
That was his big thing, right? He was on The Apprentice for 4 years, firing people, right? Did you see, right?
Yes, yeah.
So this is his. I mean, that's his ridiculous, right? So we have him firing people, and there are all these gymnastics where people are flying up in the air, flying across the stage, and that is carnival,
Mm.
you and so Trump to me is carnival, and then we have the drag queen and Rip love story
Hmm.
that is more and more front and center. And in a way, it would be beautiful to me if we took Trump and this became what Trump was, this
Yeah,
ridiculousness, right?
yeah.
That would be our sweetest revenge,
Almost as
right?
if that's what people were searching for, that your story would come above what actually happened in real life, which is particularly interesting. And also, I noticed that you just said that Trump himself is played by a POC, by an Indian man, which is
Absolutely global
already
majority.
um, obviously not a true reflection of real life. So it's not like a Trump documentary as such, which is obviously really
Oh,
interesting.
hell no. What a terrifying thought. I can't imagine, I don't know anybody would want to come to a show like that. Although I was impressed that 47 did as well as it did. And I
Hmm.
thought that incredible performance. That's not us. We are, and in a way, Vivek is sort of trompe l'oeil, right? He's
Yeah.
like, well, I didn't quite expect that, and the more places we can do that, the
Hmm.
more fun we're gonna all have, and the
Hmm.
show is just it's definitely all it's trying to do is entertain and certainly make you think a little bit, but not in a
Yeah.
deep political treatise sort of way,
And I
you know.
suppose that fun and entertainment is really important now, sort of considering the 2 years that we've had as a global community. Just getting out and having a good time together is important, more important now than it ever has been.
Oh, yeah, and I think theaters are really struggling
Mm,
because as much as, I think for certain events like if you go to a run or go to sort of a party, people are ready to get out, but people aren't quite going to the theater
yeah.
in that same way as they were before. So it's been very hard, I think, for all the theaters. I know that like the National Theater, I think, was giving tickets away.
Mm,
Um, that's a
yeah.
pretty tough climate, to be
Yeah.
to be in. But you're right, you know, we need to kind of try and get back our normalcy.
Yeah, and obviously it is the perfect opportunity to just say that supporting local theatres, small theatres, new pieces of work is as important as supporting some of the more traditional productions and shows. So just getting out and seeing something and supporting the theatre community right now is obviously vital. Um, However, people have been coming to your show. So what has the feedback and reviews been like so far for the production?
So, it's really interesting because this is the first time that we've had reviews
Hmm.
because St. Louis was essentially on lockdown. New York was sort of the same thing, a little bit longer, but there wasn't enough time to really get that. And we've had two big 4-star reviews, which is very exciting. I think we've had a couple of 3s, and we had 1, 2 person didn't like it. I guess my reservation for the 2-star review I saw is that a lot of what they were talking about was really more a product of budget. So
Hmm.
we're in a fringe space, and they're saying, well, they don't really have it set up so that you can see the screen, which is absolutely correct,
Hmm.
right? And we just dream of one day of actually having the budget so that we can do the things that
Yeah.
this person imagines. That's when we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta say, one of the things that I have loved in talking with the critics is that I work very hard on the rhymes,
Hmm.
and to have the critics. So I think there's one line that is masculine jawline, buff for a fraulein, that I just think is really
Yeah.
like it's one of my
Wow.
favorite rhymes of all time. And they all noticed it, and it made me so happy. I
Yeah.
mean, like, wow, you guys, yes, like, okay, you appreciate you see whatever you see that moment, so that
Hmm.
was super exciting.
Obviously,
Um,
while official reviews and critics obviously are vital to any new show, it seems like the audience generally seem to be really enjoying the fun of the show.
yeah, I think perhaps one guy, if I'm super um, you know open, I think he said it was an older guy, and I think if I'm honest, I think for the older people, they have a harder time with it. If you're
Hmm.
over 70, it's probably not your thing, if I'm honest.
Okay.
But what we have as when we have anybody between 20 and say 50, 55, then they're rolling. And the one guy said, I don't really know what I just saw, but I liked it. And so I think it's out to entertain, and so
Hmm.
it might not be exactly what you expect of a musical. I think it's probably far from it, but I think it's actually trying to push the boundaries a little bit.
Hmm.
And I think uh, what I have felt from the critics that I've talked to is that they're like, we see where this is going. We
Hmm.
really like it, and we see it as something that's a work in progress, and we're
Yeah.
excited to see the next step. And
Yeah.
so they could have said, not there yet,
Hmm.
but they, said, they've been very,
Yeah.
they're right.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, it's, we need one more version, and I think, but it's really, really good.
Hmm.
It really is. But I think, we're just at a couple little things that we can make even better.
But I think
So
that's what people have got to keep in mind for sort of the newer productions and even the ones that have been there for years. There's always that sort of cycle of evolution, development, growing, changes, adaptation, all these sort of things are constant. And obviously, yes, reviews are very important to grow a show, but also the show you see now may not be exactly 100% the same as what you see, you know, due to budgets, talent, whatever. It won't be exactly the
yeah,
same as what you've seen before.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And the show that is in London, by the way, has 5 songs that were not in the New York show. And the New York show has, I think, 6 songs that are not in the current version. So it really has, moved.
Mm.
And I think if I were to sum up the changes generally, they are a move away from anything that's overtly political and detailed
Hmm.
towards something that is much more kind of, again, Trump firing people and turn that into a circus act. Let's have fun with this and
Hmm.
not have it be a serious, heavy sort of indictment of a treatise on, the workforce today or something.
Mm. Yeah,
I don't,
totally.
people want to be entertained.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So if people are interested in this sort of unique, sort of queer theatre cabaret style show, where can they get tickets and where can they stay up to date with the show?
Well, so it's upstairs at the gatehouse,
Mhm.
and I think the site is, if you typed in tickets upstairs at the gatehouse, and certainly if you typed in Trump loeil, and some people may have a hard time spelling it. I'm sympathetic, um, and Loeil, a lot of vowels in there, right? So Trump loeil, or if you just typed upstairs at the gatehouse, and this is the last week.
Hmm.
So this is your week to come,
Yes.
right? And we do feel it's been exciting as we have started to see some momentum, this week where people have started hearing about it and our numbers are starting to kind of move in the right direction. So
Hmm.
that's very exciting.
I know if you go on to upstairs at the gatehouse, obviously because it's the current production, it is the first sort of show poster you see on the page, so you can go through there.
Right.
And there's an Instagram, I believe. Well, no, I know there's an Instagram that I've been following. So I'll put all the links to the social media in the description below, so people can click
Oh,
away.
wonderful.
So you did a little tease earlier about there are some next steps that you're imagining. Is there anything that you can say or reveal? I understand. I know the show process is fairly unpredictable at times, but is there anything you can tease and drop?
Uh, Gosh, I would really love to have something to tease and drop, but I think we are, actually there's what, so we don't have anything firm
Hmm.
yet. So really, we're
Yeah.
excited, we're hopeful. But you made me think of one thing that I think really, and I truly, truly, mean this. The actors in this show are phenomenal. They're wildly varied in terms of their talents. Like they have
Mhm.
their strong points and things they do, and they each bring something crucial to the show. So it's a pleasure to see this version of the show, and some people with just these incredible voices, and
Mm.
then some incredible dancers, and then ridiculous gymnasts, and they're just all bounding and singing and jumping all over the stage, and in a tight space. The gatehouse is very small.
Mm.
So in that tight space, it's all that more sort of mesmerizing, right?
Mhm.
But so I'll just say that we are super hopeful. We're
Mhm.
super ambitious. I'll say I'm already working on things I would like to sort of
Yeah.
tweak. But and something else that I really should say is that the work that Ali Savage did. He's the director in really, really sort of the dramaturgical work in like making it have a better shape and structure and flow
Mhm.
was really quite exceptional. So it came a long way thanks to that
Mm.
work, and the actors helped him in that shaping as well. So so yeah, but I know I just probably sound like some Pollyannish, oh, everybody's so good, but you know, I usually am just kind of quiet when people are difficult and
Yes.
they're not, and I can just say, what an amazing group. Just I'm just over the moon. You know, they're just so talented.
Yeah. And then sort of any of these sort of tweaks and ideas are only made possible through the support of people. So if they can, if anyone watching can drop a follow, share, like, the regular sorts of supporting would be obviously appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super rich. And you know, the thing is, as you said earlier, you know, we're a startup, you know, we're a show that's trying to get its legs, and so we really need that little boost, that energy at the beginning to get us going. And we're thankful to the critics for being so supportive, and I'm thankful to the actors for making it just an amazing show. But every little bit to get us to, you know, get the plane to get off the ground, you know.
Yeah.
So so yeah, that's all super appreciated. But yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah, so that's all my questions. So I want to end as we begin, and by saying thank you so much. I will put all the links to social media, the links to get tickets, and sort of general information about your page in the description, so people can click away. But it honestly has been a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the run for the show.
Hey, thanks. It was wonderful to talk to you. Usually, what I love to do is actually find out more about you, but I imagine that that's not really part of your show. So maybe sometime I can, you know,
absolutely,
buy you a beer and we
yes.
can find out more about you.
That'd be amazing. Thank you very much.
All right, it's gonna happen.
Yes.
Promise.
Speak to you
All
soon.
Right. Thanks, Rhys.
Bye.
Bye.